Studio. It's our pleasure to welcome Henry Barbour. He's a GOP strategist. Henry, thanks for coming in. Good to see you, man.
Gerard, it's a pleasure. Glad to be with you.
You bet. Can you remember in your rather extensive analysis and observation of presidential terms, so much activity in such a short period of time?
No.
That was an easy one, wasn't it?
That's an easy one. Okay, am I done? Trump, Trump is a different guy. And he sees, having lost that second term to Biden, he sees his opportunity. And he knows that Republicans got the Senate, they got the House. This is his window for sure, this sort of 2-year period. And, man, they've got their foot on the gas. I mean, they're doing more things than the press can keep up with. The Democrats can't keep up with it. Republicans can't keep up with it. It's pretty amazing the things that, he's trying to accomplish. I will say, and Wall Street was very fired up about it a couple months ago. And just the thought of, okay, we're getting back to kind of capitalism and competition, freedom, the kinds of things that we're expecting. But I'm afraid we have given too much uncertainty. And if there's one thing the market loathes, it's uncertainty.
No doubt.
And I think, we were just saying, the markets would welcome a coherent, steady plan on tariffs. Tell us what you're going to do, and so we can plan for it. But that's what's going on in the markets right now is just this great uncertainty.
No
doubt. Know. How can you plan? How do you know what your costs are going to be? What markets can you be in? And so it's a real. We've got some serious risk right now. I mean, Trump acknowledged that over the weekend. Even though Lutnick, it's funny, Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, he said, "Oh no chance of recession." So they weren't necessarily on the same page, but we know there's one voice for 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue right now, and that's Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So interesting times, but I think we're at a bit of a crossroads. But Trump is determined that we've been getting ripped off with trade, and Trump, he don't like getting ripped off.
No, he doesn't. He's a consummate deal maker, and he thinks these are bad deals. I mean, that's the way he describes them, and so his approach to pushing back on those deals and negotiating better deals is to use his power as the president to impose these tariffs. And he told us there was going to be a disturbance, is the way he termed it. I think we're witnessing that right now, certainly in the markets, and the uncertainty that has a lot of business people. We just had Leah Long with the NFIB on, and her members are expressing the same thing. And what tends to happen with uncertainty, Henry, is businesses will just freeze up, lock up, pause, just delay any critical financial decisions or business decisions till they have that clarity, and that's what we're going through.
Just like a family.
Exactly right.
If you lose your job, if you're about to lose your job, you're going to take a pay cut or whatever it is, it's the same thing.
That's exactly
right. It's
right.
real complicated.
That's totally right. Now, if we prevail, this could be fantastic. If the president is successful with his strategy and driving many of these countries to relax their tariffs on American goods, making our goods more affordable for them to import, man, we win big time on that. But if they stand pat and put a stake in the ground and we just have this stalemate for a while, that could cause pain, and it could affect us politically, couldn't it, Henry?
Well, 100%. There's a lot at risk, with the economy and politically. But Trump clearly is a believer on tariffs. I mean, this is not a new thing, and I think he is believing in it, but he also thinks, Gerard, that it's going to force investment in the U.S. We're going to bring jobs back to the U.S. We're going to bring manufacturing back, and I hope that's right for the long-term good of our economy. But we do have a lot of risk, and certainly Republicans have very, very thin margins, 218 to 214 in the House, 53-47 in the Senate. So very thin margins. And so, Bill Clinton was riding high when he got elected president, and then they lost 56 seats in the House in 1994. Now, nobody's going to lose 56 seats, but you could lose the majority, and that's the thing. Democrats have no control right now.
Right, zero.
They have, and they just are lost. And you could see at the State of the Union that they don't know what to do.
Exactly.
So there's great political risk.
Yeah.
And but I hope Republicans and Democrats alike can pull for the country. That if this is what the president is the route we're going down, let's have it be successful.
Yeah.
That's for the good of 340 million Americans. We need that. And but I'm not real sure a lot of Democrats are pulling for that.
I agree.
Some may be. I mean, those that are out working hard, they want a good economy. They want less inflation. They want less regulation. They want more freedom, the kinds of things that Trump's talking about. But Trump has delivered too much uncertainty with the tariffs. I mean, we saw last week Canada, Mexico, back and forth. It's 25%. Well, no, it's not going to be. And, well, we're going to let Mexico off anyway because she's nice to me on the phone. And so it's been rough, Gerard.
It has. So today, I believe, Henry, the president is scheduled to meet with a group of business leaders, but no press, as I recall, are invited. And I suspect it's going to be a discussion about his current economic policies and the trajectory and the impact those have had.
Well, I'm all for the press, but there are a lot of meetings.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, don't need to be public.
Agree.
And, if you want to wave to the camera afterwards, or if, CEOs want to talk to the reporters out on the North Lawn at the White House, then that's great. Let them do that. But the president needs to be able to have free exchange with folks so they know it's just in that room, them talking, so they can be candid. You can't do that with the with the cameras rolling. Even though it did happen with Zelensky.
That's true.
That was
unexpected.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I think both of them, Zelensky and Trump and Vance, all kind of walked into that meeting hot.
Completely agree. I completely agree. And I think we have to acknowledge that this president is perhaps the most engaging and interacting with the press maybe ever that we've had. You can't deny that.
Ever. I mean, ever. I mean, I don't think there's no competition.
I agree.
I mean, it's not even close.
And he's good
loves
at
it.
And he's very direct. He doesn't beat around the bush. When he says something, it's very succinct. There's no wondering, what did he say there? So
it is. But what you do wonder about sometimes, he says things, but doesn't necessarily mean that's the policy. He likes to talk. He likes to talk about what's on his mind, and he likes to disrupt and try to make things happen and make people think. And whether it's foreign leaders, he sends a message, about the 51st state. He's always sending a message.
Yeah.
Yeah. No president can compete. I mean, you think about any of them. I'd probably say Bill Clinton was the most comfortable talking.
I would agree
with reporters because he was so good on policy. I mean, in that he understood the depths of it, but he could speak the political language. So he would probably be the one that I would say would be the closest, but not even in the same venue as Donald Trump.
Certainly a major pivot from the prior Biden administration, which couldn't get anything out of him with the press. I mean, he just shied away from it totally.
it was kind of sad.
Yeah.
It was sad.
When we come back, Henry, I want to talk to you about this year's 3 Mississippi Top 50 Hall of Fame Award recipients. I believe you know all 3 of them.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We're going to come right back with Henry Barbour. Days we're visiting with Henry Barbour, GOP strategist. So, Henry, tonight, the Top 50, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Pardon me, tomorrow, Wednesday night, the Mississippi Top 50 recognition event takes place, and every year they always induct some prior winners into the Hall of Fame. This year, let's talk about Jeannie Luckey. What a powerful voice, what an icon she was in the Republican Party in the state of Mississippi. I know you and Jeannie had a great relationship. Fantastic lady, very much missed. Tell us about that.
Jeannie Luckey, I really loved her as a friend. I mean, she and I served on the RNC together for 14 years, so we were kind of in the thick of it for a long time. And she really became a good buddy of mine, and we were allies on the committee. And but she had been the head of the president of the Mississippi Federation of Republican Women, and a great leader and much beloved. And, of course, she had an accident after Katrina, just right after a car wreck, and changed her life. But the amazing thing about Jeannie, who spent all these hours, in a wheelchair, and, quote, handicapped, I don't think she knew it. I mean,
didn't slow her down, did it?
Didn't slow her down. And Jeannie Luckey was so optimistic and positive, and you just never heard her complain. I don't think she knew what the word complain means. She just was always getting stuff done, and so she was beloved on the RNC. People had just great respect for her, almost reverence, because she worked so hard, and big heart, love folks. But she was tough too on the committee.
Yeah.
And of course she served on IHL, the college board.
Yep.
And was a leader there, and was a leader in her community. She's from Ocean Springs on the coast, and her husband, Alwyn Luckey,
yep,
a successful attorney. They were a great team, 2 beautiful daughters and a couple of grandchildren. I went to her funeral, I guess 6, 8, I can't remember exactly. No, it was end of last year.
Yeah.
It was so powerful, what people had to say, particularly her daughters.
She touched a lot of people.
She touched
no
a
doubt.
lot of people.
No doubt. Yep.
She did.
She and Alwyn, just such prominent figures in the political world and in the party, not only in Mississippi, but nationally as well.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Alwyn Luckey, I observed this, being on the RNC and being around Jeannie so much. Alwyn was a mighty good husband.
Whoa, man.
Man, he, what Jeannie needed is what he cared about.
No doubt. That's totally true.
He was a loving husband.
No doubt. She will be greatly missed. Our own Paul Gallo being inducted. How perfect is that the top 50 would see fit to introduce him into the Hall of Fame?
Well, if you think about who are the 50 most influential people in the state as it relates particularly to politics, Paul Gallo, is maybe the first person on the list.
Yeah.
Every elected official, every operative wanted to come on the Gallo show. Now, they were a little afraid to come on sometimes because, Paul's not necessarily going to be an easy interview. He's going to ask you some hard questions. But everybody wanted to be on the Gallo show, and in some respects, if you worked in politics and you hadn't been on the Gallo show,
you hadn't made it.
You hadn't made it. You hadn't made it. So just an institution, and I will say, having been on the Gallo show a few times, It was always fun and entertaining, and you didn't quite know what to expect. You thought you were going to talk about this, but it went to whatever Paul was thinking about and whatever he thought the audience needed to hear about.
That's true.
Because he definitely had that perspective of what does the audience need to know?
No doubt.
And he held people accountable. You know, you might dodge his question the first time, but the second or third time, you know, you probably pretty much got an answer. And he did that, I think, on behalf of Mississippians. And I think Steve Davenport, the SuperTalk team, just, you know, Paul is, you know, we need a statue of Paul. I mean, just what an institution.
Unbelievable. Great words there. Appreciate that, Henry. Archie Manning, man, is there no greater ambassador for the state of Mississippi than Archie Manning?
I don't know who it would be. You know, Archie Manning, obviously a great athlete, but people don't. I mean, people love that, and they love the old videos of him with the broken arm running around, you know, like he's 11 years old, just, you know, just in the front yard, just incredible. But I think when people think of Archie Manning and Olivia Manning and their children,
sure,
they just think, what good people. What good people. You know, Archie Manning has been a great son to Mississippi, but also New Orleans and Louisiana, and just so involved with hospitals, children's hospitals, with any kind of foundation that is trying to help people. And you see his sons doing the same. Now, I will say Eli and Peyton are kind of having too much fun on TV. I mean, it's pretty hysterical. But all of that is part of, I think, of what Archie has given us. And so I'm delighted that Archie Manning, as you say, maybe Mississippi's greatest ambassador, is getting recognized. And I'm glad he's been smart enough to stay out of politics.
Yeah, I agree. And you make a great point in how New Orleans in particular and the state of Louisiana, because of his tenure with the Saints, they've adopted him and the Manning family. I mean, he's a prominent figure in New Orleans, has been since he's been there, still is today.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly. But it's important that we continue to remind people he's a Mississippian. He's from the Delta of Mississippi.
True,
that's where his roots are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Olivia as well, from Neshoba County.
That's right.
We can't overlook that.
No, that's right. I've been in the Neshoba County Fair a fair amount of times over the years, and you'd see the Mannings. You'd see the boys there, 20, 25 years ago, because that's where their family was.
Yeah.
That's where they're from.
Yeah.
And so the Mannings are a big deal nationally. But I think those of us from Mississippi, we just see them as fellow Mississippians, even though it's a little bit of a stretch to call them, the boys anyway, Mississippians. But, of course, Eli went to Ole Miss, and people are still mad at Peyton.
They sure are.
But Eli would go in one of the local restaurants there in Oxford, and they had a lady, and she would take the orders, and Eli places his order, and the lady goes, "Well, thank you so much, sweet Eli." It's just over, I guess, the PA system, and he just, the Mannings, and particularly in Oxford, are
revered.
No doubt. Severely revered.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, we're grateful to the Magnolia Tribune. Of course, it's their event for recognizing these three fabulous Mississippians, and they'll be inducted tomorrow into the Hall of Fame. It's awesome.
I appreciate Russ Latino for continuing that tradition.
Absolutely.
With Magnolia Tribune and honoring these folks, and including emerging leaders, some of the younger folks. I think it's really important that you recognize those 20-somethings and 30-somethings who are
making a mark.
Who are making a mark, and I can assure you, a lot of them, if I was putting a campaign together, those are the first people I'm calling.
Yeah, it's absolutely great words, great point. Before we go here, a couple of minutes, any thoughts about the current legislative session in Mississippi? You hear the music, so we got about 30 seconds. Any thoughts?
They're fighting.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have big thoughts on that. I will say I don't spend a lot of time at the state capitol. My partner Claire doesn't let me go down there. So, but she's very smart for doing that.
No doubt. Well, we got about a month left, I guess, for them to hammer out.
Yeah, about the 1st of April will be done. Yeah, so about 3 weeks left, and I can assure you, they'll all be ready. Delbert, Jason White, even Tate. They'll all be delighted that it's over and behind them. And
I have to take a breather after this one.
No doubt about it.
Henry Barbour, GOP Strategist, has been our guest. Always good to see you, my friend. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Gerard.
Yep.
Thank you.
We're coming right back in the Element Wealth Studio.